think we've got everyone here. This time we'll go ahead and call to order our regular planning commission meeting for January 25th, 2020. First order of business will be roll call. I'll turn that over to Ben.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Bigham.
Here, present, here.
Commissioner Britton.
Here.
Commissioner Fisher.
Here.
Commissioner Frazier.
Here.
Commissioner Knable.
Here.
Commissioner Rasmussen.
Here.
And Chair Kambata.
Here. Okay. On to item 3, which would be approval of the agenda. Unless there are any questions or comments, I'll look for a motion.
Motion to approve the agenda from Commissioner Bigham.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Bigham. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Knable. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and I'll turn this over to the director for roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Bigham.
Aye.
Commissioner Knable.
Aye.
Commissioner Britton.
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher.
Aye.
Commissioner Frazier.
Aye.
Commissioner Rasmussen.
Aye.
And Chair Kambata.
Aye. All right, moving on to item 4. This is open forum. Being virtual, we have a couple different ways you can engage. First is you'll have the option to post a question using the Q&A option. If you post a question, I will state the question to the Planning Commission and staff, and then we will address the questions accordingly. You may also use the raise my hand option if you wish to verbally ask a question. Please test your microphone's device before selecting this option to ensure that you'll be heard. I'll then call on you by name and ask the question. Once the question has been asked, you will be muted and we will address the question accordingly. And then for any follow-up questions, you would have to go through that same process again. With that being said, open forum is an opportunity for attendees to bring a matter to the city's attention, or rather the commission's attention, that is not already on tonight's agenda. I can't stress that enough. If you're here to discuss something that's already on our agenda tonight, you would want to wait until the public comment portion of that agenda item. With that, I will go ahead and give us a few minutes to see if anyone's got anything that they want to contribute. All right, we'll give one more minute here.
Mr. Chair, it looks like one of the attendees did raise their hand. Actually, no. Looks like they no longer are. Oh, yep, back on. So looks like Mark. I'll allow Mark to talk here.
Go ahead.
Mark, are you there?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to discuss the Capstone Homes.
I'm going to stop you right there. That is an agenda item. We will address that. The proper time for you to raise your hand would be during the public comment period of that application. So we've got a few agenda items to get to first.
Okay.
Anything additional? Okay. All right, Director, unless you see any other, anybody else who's raised a flag, I think we can move on. We'll go ahead and close open forum. Item number 5, Chair's explanation of the hearing process. Planning Commission is a volunteer advisory group to the City Council. One of the Commission's functions is to hold public hearings and make recommendations on land use and zoning matters. The purpose of these public hearings is to provide an opportunity for each applicant and citizens to present information, ask questions, and express opinions. Since these proceedings are televised and recorded for the public record, anyone wishing to speak can do so in one of the following ways. You may post a question using the Q&A option. If you post a question, I will state the question to the Planning Commission and staff, and we will address questions accordingly. You may use the raise my hand option. If you wish to verbally ask a question, please test your device's microphone prior to selecting the option to assure that you will be heard. I will then call on you by name, ask the question, and then please understand that once the question has been asked, you will be muted. If you have follow-up questions, please reselect the raise my hand option with your additional question. Staff reports are prepared and provided to the applicant and Planning Commission in advance of these meetings. The first step in the hearing process will be for staff to present a summary of the report. The applicant will then have the opportunity to briefly explain the proposal and provide additional information or comment. Anyone wanting to speak in favor or against the proposal will then be heard. In observance of everyone's time, we are going to limit each speaker to 3 minutes. And then I'd like to encourage anyone speaking on behalf of an application tonight not to repeat or reiterate what others have stated, and try and just provide as much input as possible and make this meeting go smoothly. Upon completion of the testimony, the hearing will be closed to public comment. The Planning Commission will then discuss and act on the matter. The agenda packet is available for viewing on Cottage Grove City website. The City Council will act on agenda items 6.1, Aggregate Industries Mining Permit, and 6.3, Sunny Hill Park Plat, at their meeting on Wednesday, February 3rd, 2021, which starts at 7 p.m. Agenda item 6.2, Sandkamp Property Concept Plan, will be on Wednesday, February 17th, 2021, and it'll be on the City Council agenda for that meeting, With that, we'll move on to item 6. Item 6.1, Aggregate Industries 2021 Mining Permit, case MP 2021-005, with Emily Schmitz presenting.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the Commission. The first item before you this evening is an application by Aggregate Industries for their annual mining permit, the Nelson Mine. The location is on the lower Gray Cloud Island here in Cottage Grove, just south of the River Acres neighborhood down there in the backwaters of the Mississippi River. A little bit of background: the property owners entered into an agreement with Aggregate Industries back somewhere in the 50s. And since that time, somewhere around in the 1970s, several studies were conducted that allowed for more robust review annually of the operations that were taking place there. Hence, before you this evening, their annual mining permit application. Similar to 2020, Aggregate Industries proposes to extract around 700,000 to 725,000 tons of aggregate materials out of the mine. These are transported by truck as well as barge out of the mine. They do in fact operate 24 hours a day, 7 days per week, but I want to make very clear over the last year of their operations, we have not received any complaints of those operations. The applicant will continue to be required to maintain the reclamation of the island. Approximately 265 acres to date have in fact been reclaimed. This includes shore stabilization, planting of an oak savanna, as well as planting of some prairie areas throughout the island. So those will continue to take place in 2021 as part of their operations. The applicant has recently started the process of the environmental impact statement review. This would allow the applicant to mine in the backwaters of the Mississippi, kind of off the island per se. This process was started by the applicant back in 2008, extended all the way through 2012, where it was near completion, but the applicant decided not to continue on with that request. And I want to make very clear this is quite the process, a robust process that is reviewed by many state agencies, including the Corps of Engineers. So this is in the very early stages. So we'll certainly be before you in the future but just wanted to give a heads up that this process has been started by that applicant. And then just make note, the property owners back in 2000 and then again in 2019 have been thinking long-term and what the future plan and land use might be for the island when Aggregate Industries is no longer operating on the island. Many different ideas with mixed residential uses, commercial, public and open space, things of that nature. Again, this item before you this evening has no review or approval of any of these long-range plans, but more informational for you as we look to the future. So with that, I will leave the recommendation before you. I will be available for questions, and I believe the applicant is available as well.
Thank you. Does the applicant have anything that they would like to add?
No, the Tom Burrows here with Aggregate Industries. Thank you all for your time with this. I'm happy to answer any questions that any of you have, but the 2021 season is largely similar to the past 4 or 5 years as far as the operations go.
Okay. Thank you, sir. At this time, I'll look to the commission. Do we have any follow-up questions from the commission members? Okay, seeing none. Yeah, in my review of the packet, this is pretty on point with what we have approved in the past, and I know that this is an annual permit per the conditional use. So, not seeing that anything has changed, I don't see any problem with moving forward with a motion if we've got no further comment. All right, at this time, I'll look for a motion.
I move to approve. Commissioner Britton.
I have a motion to approve from Commissioner Britton. Do we have a second?
Second, Commissioner Fisher.
I have a second from Commissioner Fisher. Do we have any additional comment before we move to a vote? Okay, seeing none, I will hand this off to the director for roll call. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Britton.
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher.
Aye.
Commissioner Bigham.
Aye.
Commissioner Frazier.
Aye.
Commissioner Knable.
Aye.
Commissioner Rasmussen.
Aye.
And Chair Kambata.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. On to item 6.2.
Thank you all.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
On to item 6.2, Sandkamp Property Management Concept Plan, case CPR 2021-006, with Ben Boyke presenting.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Planning Commission. Tonight, Capstone Homes is requesting concept plan review, specifically for a 156-unit detached residential townhome development, which is located on 39.7 acres of land located at the southwest side of the intersection at Hadley Avenue South and 100th Street, specifically the parcel outlined in red on the map before you. In terms of background information pertaining to this site, the site is guided for medium density residential development per the 2040 comp plan. That land use guideline calls for 5 to 13 units per acre. In terms of zoning, the property is currently zoned AG2, which is agricultural. And if the concept plan is approved by council, the next step in the process would be to rezone the property to R5 medium density residential, which would follow that land use guide in the comp plan. So in terms of the proposal itself, Capstone Homes is proposing the Liberty Series detached townhome product, as shown on that top picture. This is an HOA maintained development, so that's one of the unique features and attractive features for home buyers is that it'll limit lawn maintenance and overall landscaping on open areas to the HOA. There will be varying elevations and floor plans, which we'll show a little bit more in the presentation later. Capstone is currently developing this product type in Ramsey, St. Michael, and Andover. Again, this HOA component, having a detached townhome, it gives the feel of a single family home, again, without that maintenance of the lawn, etc. So it's very attractive to the home buyer. This is a new product type for the city of Cottage Grove, which does help provide the goal of providing full spectrum housing to the residents, and does align with the city council's strategic planning initiative to do just that. So the concept plan does include, as you can see on the picture here, parkland dedication for the future right-of-way of a county realignment of 100th Street. You can kind of see with the dashed lines that alignment would take 100th Street down at a curve to connect into 103rd Street. That's a part of the county's current study looking at that, which is down the road. But the developer has agreed to dedicate that right-of-way so it's in place for if and when that arterial roadway would come through. The proposed plan does include on-site stormwater ponding, as you can see in the various areas. It also proposes a recreational trail, which is shown in brown, which extends from the proposed southern access off of 103rd, essentially along the top of the bluff line, and connects into the trail at the Mississippi Dunes Estates development to the north. Proposed project would include public streets internally, which would include sidewalks on one side of the street. They're also proposing a kind of a seating area for a scenic overlook. At this location, again, this being at the top of the bluff, being able to look down in the river valley, and also some open space at the northeast corner of the property. So in terms of development standards, the developer would be proposing to rezone. Again, next step would be to rezone along with the preliminary plat, specifically to R5 medium density residential zoning and a planned unit development. As you can see with the depiction, the developer to meet the minimum density requirement for medium density, which is 5 units per acre, is proposing 40-foot lots and 5-foot side yard setbacks for the project. The current R5 guidelines, zoning guidelines, which are specifically for single-family lots, calls for 60-foot wide lots and 7.5-foot side yard setbacks. So that is why the planned unit development tag would be required to allow those smaller lot sizes and smaller setbacks. Again, to meet that density requirement of 5 units per acre, which we're on a threshold of with 4.89. Staff does not believe that the PUD will set a precedent in terms of the proposed product. Again, this being a new product to the city with a detached townhome versus a single-family villa product. The proposed 5-foot side yard setbacks does present a building fire code issue, that being since the homes would be 10 feet apart. There is some extra design required in terms of ventilation to prevent fires from spreading between structures. That is shown here with the depiction that the developer is proposing, a design that would be compliant with the building and fire code. Both the Cottage Grove building official and the public safety department have reviewed this and approved it. The same design was approved in those other communities I mentioned that are currently seeing this development type. So in terms of access, access will be provided via continuation of Mississippi Dunes Boulevard, which currently terminates where my cursor is shown. So we'll have access through that roadway, and then through a new access off of what's currently 103rd Street on the south end, kind of at the top of the hill in this location here. Also, as part of this development, staff is recommending that the developer be responsible for installing a new rural section of road that would follow this future right-of-way for the future arterial road, and essentially remove the current portions of Hadley in this area and 103rd in this area, so that with the development, you'd have a new rural section of road from just south of the intersection of Hadley and 100th Street to the new access point to the development, and then tie into the existing road heading to the west and down the hill. In terms of public utilities, city water is available from the north, so connection will be provided from the north. The city is requesting extension of the trunk water main all the way to the western edge along 103rd, just for future planning on getting water down to the bottom of the hill for if and when development occurs down there. In addition, city sewer will eventually be provided from the east through an extension of that system. But currently it will be tying in the interim, would be tying into the existing system to the north through a proposed lift station in this location here. In terms of architecture, so a variety of elevations are being proposed, including a one-story product as well as two-story products, all with tuck-under garages and varying elevations. The developer is proposing a variety of exterior materials, so there'll be some good variation there. Each product type or elevation does include a front covered porch, and the garages are all flush with the front porch, so you won't have any of the garages forward of the house. Just to note that the City Council did review the concept plan at their January 9th, 2021 strategic planning meeting, and the council was in general support of the concept plan. At this point, obviously, this formal concept plan review will be going to council later in February on the 17th. And then next steps beyond that, if approved, it would go for rezoning and preliminary plat, both through the Planning Commission, public hearing, and back to the City Council. Finally, staff did receive 2 emails over the weekend from owners of a nearby residential property regarding the plan, which was sent to the commissioners today via email. The concerns raised centered around their thought of losing that small town feel with additional growth in Cottage Grove, in addition to trash, noise, and light pollution created by that growth. And then more specifically, looking at safety of 103rd Street as you head west from the development down the hill with both vehicles and pedestrian traffic. And finally, impacts to the existing schools and additional growth triggering need for more schools or more school space. So with that, staff did review those concerns, and currently Hadley and 103rd, the low traffic counts do not currently trigger any upgrades to those roadways. In fact, the 2019 average daily trips for that area is 710 vehicles, which is significantly lower than was previous. I think it was around 1,400 when Mississippi Dunes Golf Course was open. So that daily traffic has been cut in half with the golf course closing. In addition to that, I guess I'll note that the preliminary platting process, which again is the next step, would include additional detailed review about that proposed access on the south end of the development, sightlines, etc., to take a better, deeper look at that to alleviate concerns with safety. In addition, again, staff is recommending a new rural section from the intersection of Hadley and 100th down to the proposed access of 103rd, so that'll be a newly installed road. And finally, in regard to impacts to schools, the city does meet regularly with the school district regarding capacities and new developments. So the school district is aware of what's coming and capacity issues related to those new developments. So with that, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission recommend the City Council approval of the concept plan, and we'll stand for questions.
Thank you, Director. At this time, would the applicant like to add anything?
Mr. Chair and members of the commission, let me introduce myself. My name is Tom Bockergees from Capstone Homes, and we're located at 14015 Sunfish Lake Boulevard in Ramsey. First, I want to thank you for having myself this evening and the opportunity to present our proposed Liberty detached home community and answer any questions you might have at this stage of the concept plan review process. Ben has done such a great job in presenting the report. Being that this is my first time in front of this board, I do want to make a couple comments. And first, I do want to thank our landowners. The Sandkamp family has entrusted our team to create a special legacy on their farmstead. And second, I'd like to appreciate the staff. We began this process with staff, and we've had great dialogue and collaboration since we started in November of 2020. I do have a 6-page slide presentation. Some of it you've heard from Ben, but I do want to iterate some important points. And some of the components that I'm going to discuss on the following pages will be the Liberty Detached Townhome Housing Product, the managed HOAs, the site data, and site elements. Before I move on to this first page, I do want to state that what this does, this slide depicts a modern design streetscape and perspective of the detached townhome product types that we offer. So it kind of gives you understanding of a one single level and two-story. Ben, if you don't mind to move to the next slide. Thank you. This is the Liberty Townhouse product that you can see here. There's 5 different products. What we have is 4 out of the 5 have 3 different elevations. The 5th product has 4 different elevations, so our consumers have many to choose from. Obviously, the floor plans are all options that provide great open floor concepts and options for all age demographics with this product. Now, the size range from 1,484 square feet up to 2,487 square feet. That is for our 2-story living detached townhome. Our single living ranges anywhere from 1,080 to 2,080 for single living. All the products is priced from the low 300s to mid 300s, and then of course HOA maintained landscaping. What is important here, and Ben alluded to the staff report, is that when you see this detached product in front, all the garages are flush with the home or the front porch, which is very nice that you don't have what some people might call garage front product. So we are excited about introducing this and building this in Cottage Grove, because this is a product that I think is needed, and our studies are showing that it is, and we're having great success with it in the city of St. Michael, in our neighborhood called Legacy Bay Farms, and then also in Ramsey, which is Riverstone, and we'll be starting soon in Andover this year. And also, I do want to state that all our homes are for sale housing product. There is no rental on this. Ben, if we could move to the next page. So what's real special about this neighborhood and neighborhoods that we're building our detached townhome is the professionally managed homeowners association. They're all designed with managed expert HOA management firms. We use Omega and we use First Service right now in all our communities, and lawn maintenance through HOA, association maintained common areas, architectural standards and oversight, and HOA managed rules and regulations. So we are covering all the bases when we develop a community like this. Let's move on to the next page, Ben. Thank you. So as we move forward through the process and talk about more design details and so forth, but at this level, I wanted just to discuss with you and illustrate to you some of the site data. So we know that the gross area for the site is 39.7 acres. But really what we have to develop is about 31.9 acres approximately. When you look at the future county right-of-way, we are looking at about 4.9 acres of land. When you're looking at the northeast green space area, which is about 0.45 acres, and then you have the steep slope, and then the buffer areas that are along the overhead power line area and on the south side of 103rd, we're thinking that's about 2.45. So just to indicate to you that we do have some constraints, but I think the project overall is going to be wonderful. There's a total of 156 detached townhomes here, as Ben has alluded to, and that's what we're proposing. Yes, we are proposing R5 medium density, and which will be for a PUD. Now, what's really important here is that the minimum lot standards that we're proposing, which is lot width of 40 feet, lot depth is 120 at a minimum, but as you can see on many of these lots, the lot depth are going to range anywhere from about 130 maybe to 135 deeper. Front setback, we're proposing at 20 feet. With the porches, they will be at 15 feet. Side yard setbacks are 5. Between buildings, we're at 10. And then, of course, rear setback is 20. And the exhibit that Ben brought up before, of our lot detail was an example that we brought to his attention. If we can move to the next slide. What's important about any neighborhood is creating some plan elements that's going to work. And that's, you take advantage of the beauty that's along on the west side and south side. So as this site was designed, we knew we had the right housing product for a medium density PUD designation. The detached townhome product does provide a land use transition and complements the area to the north, which is also medium density detached and attached product in that neighborhood as well. So as you're looking at this neighborhood, we are proposing a trail corridor along the south and west sides of the development. And you can see that with that trail corridor, we are providing an extensive bituminous trail from the south access point off of 103rd and to the north along the bluff line connecting to the Mississippi Dunes Estates trail at the northwest corner of the property. And that same trail runs easterly and westerly as well. We're also proposing the overlook area for viewing the river valley. It's going to be in a nice location where anybody walking on a trail or biking and they can see the river valley, and it's really a nice location. On the northeast corner, we're proposing a green space area, which equates to about 0.45 acres. Now, in a lot of our developments, and as we move through the process and when we apply for preliminary plat, we'll have actual pictures of green space areas that we have done in neighborhoods, and that will show how the neighborhood takes advantage of this. We provide perimeter landscaping and irrigation in these areas, but it's a great green space area for gatherings. Kids can play ball, they can run, barbecue gatherings, for example, or just simply enjoy sitting there watching the community. We'll also have an exhibit as we move forward through this process to show how it increases that open space area adjoining to the north with the Mississippi Dunes neighborhood. Also, that's a plan element and also a requirement is a 30-foot landscape buffer along Hadley. As we put together our landscape plan, we'll meet all the requirements that the city will require of us, but we do expect to have some trees along that to buffer from our neighbors, buffer from our lots. In regards to the stormwater ponding along the future County Road right-of-way, our engineer, Paul Cherney, with Pioneer Engineering, has done a nice job in terms of providing the natural proposed stormwater that we're going to have along the future right-of-way, and then along 103rd, where there'll be a basin, some infiltration area, and also the woodland open space that's on the south west corner that we're not touching. That's just a natural buffer and requirement, just leave as is. And so you can see on the south side, we're going to have quite a bit of buffer between the future roadway and to our lots. County Road realignment, Ben alluded to it, but this neighborhood, it will show the County Road alignment. And then, of course, the extension of Mississippi Dunes to the north and the proposed access to the south. Those are the two main access points. And as you know, the Mississippi Dunes Road has been there for about 15 years, a dead end, and we've designed it in such a way that there is no cut through traffic. As you can see how it ends up as a T intersection and then moves southerly. We think most of the people are going to be coming from 103rd to down Hadley rather than winding through a neighborhood anyways. So from that standpoint, this is what I have to present this evening. The last slide is really just about Capstone Homes. We're a local-owned home builder that's been around 20 years of home building experience and development. And we are a builder that builds many different product offerings that allows for many different buyers to locate in our neighborhoods. So with that, I can answer any questions that you might have, Mr. Chair and Commission members.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for your time. Okay. At this time, I'll turn it over and see if Commission has any follow-up questions for staff or for the applicant.
Hey, this is Commissioner Knable. I do have a question. What up on 99th Street South, there are some detached townhomes. Do they have the 60-foot lots or 40-foot lots up there?
Chair Knable, Commissioner Knable, Chair Kambata, those are actually a single family villa product up there. It looks much the same as what's being proposed in this development, but they do have the 60-foot lots up there. So it will be narrower than, I guess, what is currently up there to the north.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Any other follow-up questions?
This is Commissioner Rasmussen. I have a quick question, please. With the 40-foot lots versus the typical 60, there's been a little talk about landscaping, but do we feel comfortable we're going to get meet the city's landscape requirements as you drive through the communities, or number of trees, or our particular code? Is there going to be any challenges on the narrower lots?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Rasmussen, we'll obviously take a deeper look at that through the preliminary plat process. But no, there's plenty of room in the front yard and the rear yard to fit the required landscaping for this development. So that is not a concern. But again, we'll be looking at that as we go through the next stage of the process.
Thank you. We've got no other follow-up questions. I think we'll move on to public hearing. Before I go ahead and open the public hearing, I'm just going to reiterate your options for participation. You may post a question using the Q&A option. If you post a question, I will state the question to the Planning Commission and staff, and we will address that question accordingly. You may also use the raise my hand option. If you wish to verbally ask a question, please test your device's microphone prior to selecting the option to assure that you will be heard. I'll then call on you by name to ask the question. Please understand that once the question has been asked, you will be muted. If you have any follow-up questions, please reselect the raise my hand option. With that, we will go ahead. Oh, and one more reminder that we, due to the number of participants tonight, we're going to have to limit everyone to 3 minutes for comment. With that, we will go ahead and open public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak for or against the application may go ahead and do so.
Mr. Chair, it looks like we have one of the attendees, David G., who would like to talk, so I'm going to unmute him. David, if you could unmute yourself. You have the floor.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Go ahead.
Okay, I am a board member of Mississippi Dunes townhomes.
Okay.
And as far as what the Sandkamp proposal is, as far as what their homes look like and all that, I think they're absolutely wonderful. The one concern that I have, even though I heard the statement that they felt that most of the traffic would be going out on 103, I really don't think that is true. I think that there will be a considerable influx of traffic going to the Mississippi Dunes Boulevard that runs through our area there. There is quite a few kids that live right there at 99th Court, and there's also a bus stop there at 98th and Mississippi Dunes Boulevard, where our kids walk from the whole area to that spot. So there's also a trail that runs right across that. I would like to propose a change on that rather than opening up that Mississippi Dunes area that runs through our townhome area, that a spur from and I don't know what that one road number is, but the one that runs from that north edge of their area out to Hadley, and not open up the Mississippi Dunes area into our area. I just feel it would be a whole lot safer because of all the kids we have. So I would really like to see some other spur or a road that went out to Hadley.
To Hadley there.
And just for info, I believe Tom said that that our single homes over there were villas, and they aren't. They are two-story homes. So thank you for hearing me.
Absolutely. Thank you, David. Just a quick comment on that. The preliminary plat would be the next step. So this is a concept plan. There are some things to be worked out. So don't think of this as the final draft. This is the first draft.
Well, thank you.
And some of these things are items that have yet to be addressed, and it's still kind of fluid at this stage in the process. So valid concern, and something that the city is vigilant about addressing when they progress these plans along. With that, I'll turn over to the director to get the next speaker on the line.
All right, looks like we have Mark, and I will unmute now. Whoops, hold on one second. And Mark, you have the floor.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
My name is Mark. I also live in Mississippi Dunes Townhomes. I'm also on the HOA board, and my immediate concern in seeing the plans is that Mississippi Dunes extension. I'm sure that most of the traffic from these 156 homes will be going north on Hadley to the school or to 90th Street or 80th Street or whatever. And I'm concerned with all that traffic going through our townhomes on those smaller streets. I'd like to see a more direct access to Hadley so that traffic can go south. Whatever the Planning Commission thinks to be the best way to do that, I'm sure it would help traffic in the area. So
Okay.
that's my question. What else can you do to route traffic more directly to Hadley?
That would be a question for staff, and again, that's something that gets further scrutiny during the next phase of the process. Valid consideration.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Ben, who's up next?
Looks like we have a Q&A question. Mr. Chair, are you able to read that, or would you like me to read it?
Let me just pull that up quick here. So we have a question from Nancy. It says, I'm wondering if is room provided for parking for visitors coming into the development. Also, what is the ratio of new students coming to Pine Hill, and can they absorb it? This might be a question to turn over to staff first and then to the applicant regarding the parking question.
Yes, so Mr. Chair, the development will include obviously private driveways for each home, which would allow for the vehicle storage of at least 2 vehicles. And then would be a typical public street where there would be public parking available. I can certainly turn it over to our engineer, Amanda Meyer, who's also on the call, that can discuss that in more detail if needed. So there would be plenty of room. I don't think, I'll look to the developer, there's any planned additional off-street parking stalls that you would see in a typical townhome development, that they'll simply be relying on that, on the driveways for each property.
Okay. And then Director, regarding the follow-up question, or the secondary component of that question on Pine Hill student counts, can you maybe just enlighten us on how the city interacts with the school board and how that's handled when these types of developments are proposed?
Absolutely, Mr. Chair. So as developments come in, again, we're in constant communication with the school district. In fact, every 2 weeks, we send our new home permit info to the district, so they're aware of the new homes that are being built and how they, and that way they can accommodate for the existing schools and students at the schools. I can't specifically account to the ratio at Pine Hill and those specific numbers, but certainly I know that the district's obviously looking at capacity issues right now, and when they look at these things, they're again aware of what's coming and going in terms of development. So that specific question would be a better question for the district themselves.
Okay. And then, do you know, they take the number of dwelling units and just make an assumption on the number of students per number of dwelling units, or is that something that might be better directed towards the school board?
Question better for the school board, as I'm not aware of exactly how they do that.
All right, thank you, sir. It looks like we might have another Q&A here. We've got one from Matt Naska. He says, is there a plan to provide tree, shrub, or other buffer between the new development and the townhomes to the north? We're in a position where headlights will shine directly into our first floor kitchen, dining room, and living room areas from anyone driving north on Mississippi Dunes Boulevard, new portion. Maybe staff could take that one.
Yes, so Chair Kambata, there are certain landscaping requirements for the development. In this case, along the north property line, there are some overhead power lines that will certainly impact where placement of certain landscaping can be. But again, through the preliminary plat process, we look specifically with the submitted plans on where those trees will be. We try to buffer as much as possible between developments with berming and or trees. So that is something we'll be looking at as we proceed, should council approve the concept plan.
Okay, thank you. Ben, do we have anyone else with wanting to speak on behalf of this application?
Yes, so it looks like we have Melanie, who has also raised her hand, and I will unmute.
Melanie, you can go ahead when you're ready.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Well, thank you. Good evening. My name is Melanie Walters, and my family lives right on 99th Street South. So we are 2 houses west of Mississippi Dunes Boulevard, just north of that power line easement. So this development is literally like right in our backyard. So I realize that the plans at this point are still in the preliminary stages. But my question is, it's probably small potatoes to the city, but it really impacts us. It's regarding the walking path there along the power line easement. And we have a 3 and a 4-year-old. And right now they use that walking path countless times a week to walk to their grandparents' house, which is literally a block and a half down the path. So I'm wondering if there will still be a safe way for children to use that path, or how is that going to look with the Mississippi Dunes Boulevard continuation going south there?
Let me go ahead and ask council if they can follow up on not council, on with staff on how they see that path and that interchange on Mississippi Dunes being altered.
Chair Kambata, there would, with the continuation of Mississippi Dunes Boulevard, there would be, I assume, a crosswalk there. I guess I'll turn it to our engineer, Amanda Meyer, who can probably comment better than I can on what that treatment would look like.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. As Mississippi Dunes Boulevard would be connected and extended through this neighborhood, there would be, as Ben mentioned previously, a sidewalk, at least on one side of the road, extending Mississippi Dunes Estates pedestrian routes into the new development. And as of now, the plan is to keep that trail extension that exists today, or at least a portion of it, from that sidewalk out to Hadley Avenue. And just something to mention related to these access points. As just previously mentioned by Melanie, there is that large power easement that borders the north side of this development. And it's a large transmission line that is centered if you were to continue down 100th Street. So the ability to tie a roadway into that intersection of Hadley and 100th Street in line with 100th really is not plausible. And as we look to the future with that 100th Street realignment, Hadley Avenue is proposed to veer sort of southeast into the curve of 100th Street. So as we look at, two access points to this development, it's not very plausible to connect into Hadley. One, again, for that power, that transmission line, and then again with that realignment of 100th Street. So we're just looking at long-term connection solutions. And then as it relates to 103rd Street, that connection is, as Mr. Chair mentioned, something that we are evaluating with sight lines. We are working very closely with the county and their consultant to make sure that, the site distances would be appropriate and align well with the county's future plans of 100th Street. So I know I got a little off topic there in regard to the pedestrian piece of it, but just also wanted to mention just those access points as well.
Amanda, if you could go back to that map again.
Ben, would you mind pulling that back up?
So where the property lines currently ends and the road terminates in the current Mississippi Dunes development, I think Melanie's question was, with an actual road there, that's actually going to cut that trail. Whereas now there's no traffic interaction with the pedestrians there. So I think what she's asking is that still going to be a safe crossing? And then is that walkway still going to continue out to Hadley? And then I had a follow-up question regarding the 30-foot buffer from Hadley. Does that buffer incorporate a walking path, a pedestrian path adjacent to the roadway?
Yeah, so to the crossing question, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, we would do a mid-block crossing similar to what we've done with the Military Road Trail through that sort of historical corridor where it's crossing Joliet and Jocelyn Avenue with the connection between East Ridge Woods and Woodward Ponds. So it'd be a mid-block crossing of a trail. And as it relates to that 30-foot landscape buffer, we would not look at putting a pedestrian route through there, just knowing that that portion of Hadley would eventually go away with the realignment of 100th Street. spending money to put in sort of a temporary walkway does not seem like something we would be looking to have the developer do at this time.
Okay. Thank you. Ben, I think we might have another Q&A here. Let me check.
Yep.
I'm going to go ahead and ask whoever sent that to just shoot their full name quick, because it did not appear on the question, and I'd like to have the name stated for the record. I'll give them 1 second here, and then I'll go ahead and read it if we don't get a response. Mm-hmm. Give it 1 second here.
Looks like, Mr. Chair, the inquiry is now requesting to talk, so maybe that would help clear things up.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Yep. All right, so Galaxy S8, you'll have to unmute yourself and then you'll be able to speak.
Hi there. This is Alan Thole. Anyways, I live directly above where the your new development is being proposed. And I guess one of the key features of my house and why I did buy it was the view that I had looking south towards Mississippi Dunes area. I'm just wondering how that might affect it.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, can we get the address for the record too? Sorry.
Yeah, Ellen, if you could go ahead and provide your address.
Yeah, it's 6697 99th Street.
So you back up to the trail there?
That's correct.
Well, I mean, there's going to be the power line easement. They're going to retain that walking path. And then, you're going to have, a development to the south there. But the grade kind of slopes down in a way. So as far as your kind of southerly view, you're not going to have an unchanged view of the river bluff, but I think you're still going to still have the benefit of that southerly view and that southerly exposure. Unfortunately, with these types of developments, and I deal a lot with this, is there's really no way to prohibit another landowner from making changes to their property over time. All we can do is kind of make sure that they're staying between the lines when it comes to what they're proposing. But yeah, with the grade away, I mean, for the sewer system, they need to have a lift station if that gives you an indication of, the land is kind of sloping down the bluff. So I think with your position there, and those are mostly walkouts, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, you've kind of got an elevated view to begin with. I think you'll be okay. I guess it's too early along to know for sure because we're still in the concept review stage. Once we get a preliminary plat and we have a little bit more concrete design, once they've worked out all the kinks, that would be when somebody might be able to answer that question. But ultimately, I think they're going to try and keep in conformity with the neighboring communities and obstruct it as little as possible for what that matters.
Sure.
Did they say something about the telephone, the wire?
Yeah, I don't know. There's something with that. No, that's okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Ben, do we have any additional inquiries to address? Oh, yeah, here we go. Matt has a follow-up. Matt Naska says, any idea when this development might begin and when it's planned to finish? That would be a question for staff and the developer.
Sure, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. So the plan would be, obviously, there's some additional approvals that are needed, which would occur the first half of this year with the intent of hopefully getting final plat approval from council sometime in the July timeframe with the plan to get in the ground the second half of the year. Tom, do you want to comment any more on that? Does that sound accurate?
Ben and Mr. Chairman, members of the commission and audience, that is correct. Our goal is to start this summer and have our first phase completed by mid to late November for our first phase.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Do we have any additional comment or anyone else to call on here, Ben? I just want to make sure I'm not missing anyone.
Not that I'm seeing at this time.
All right, well, we'll give it one more minute, and then if there's no further comment, we can close public hearing. All right, we will go, oh, we got one. David has a follow-up question for the applicant. How many phases do you propose with this application?
So right now, Mr. Chair and members of the commission and the audience, we are going to be grading the site in one phase because it's only 31 acres. But our goal is to phase this into two to three different phases, depending on the market conditions and so forth. It could be a 3 to 5 year plan.
Okay, thank you for that. We'll give it one more minute here, see if anyone else has any follow-up. All right, we will go ahead and close public hearing for this matter. Do we have any follow-up comment from the commission? Okay, well, my take on it is, Tom, I think you've done a fantastic job outlining and being very thorough with your vision. Staff, for being a concept plan, I think you guys have taken into consideration a lot of what we've heard reiterated through the public comment regarding easements, the realignment of 100th Street, and some other things. You know, whenever we have a new community development like this, abutting an existing community development, there are always concerns about, you know, how is it going to change? And I think we've addressed a lot of that tonight, so I'm happy about that. If we don't have any further comment from the commission, I might look for a motion at this time. Does anyone care to motion?
This is Commissioner Frazier. I guess just to preface, I'll make a motion to approve the concept plan. But I guess just my initial thoughts is on first glance, I'm not crazy about 40-foot lot. I'll be definitely interested to see more, and I'll be definitely interested to see the preliminary plat and see the plan for how it's going to look. But that's just my initial gut reaction. But I'm definitely interested. I like the idea. I just want to see how it's going to be implemented. But like I said, I'll move to approve the the concept plan subject to the conditions in the staff report.
All right, we have a motion to approve the concept plan subject to the conditions stated in the staff report from Commissioner Frazier. Do we have a second? I'll second. Further comment?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Britton. I'd also like to, make a comment about the lot widths. And typically with a lot of our side yard setbacks, it's been 7.5 feet, giving you 15 feet between homes. And, we're going way down from 60 down to 40. 45 isn't that much more. I know that would take some lots out because they're squished in there. I do think it's an interesting concept. So definitely something that can work through the process with staff, but I'd definitely be more comfortable with that 45 feet, giving you 7.5 feet, and that'd be my comment.
All right, thank you, sir.
If I may, this is Commissioner Fisher.
You just muted.
Sorry, I muted myself again. Sorry. I've been looking at the fire separation, the drawing that was described that it would meet the fire codes, and I don't really understand how the houses being as close as they're going to be, how that the way that they do the roof in that drawing, how that makes the space something that passes the fire code. I guess I'm not sure how to phrase that. So I don't know if somebody can explain a little bit better the the way that they're going to be doing the roof and how that meets the fire code.
Okay. Tom, is this something you could extrapolate on?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, what I can do for you is I can provide you some information, maybe in more detail. But what I can state is that what you see on this diagram is what's been approved by the state building code and accepted by the city of St. Michael, Ramsey, and Andover. We are following the code in regards to providing the necessary roof deck intake, the ventilation, the extra type of insulation, and so forth in here. I could probably get you some more information, but we are following the code.
Okay. And then we would have an opportunity to address any further questions during the next phase if needed.
Sure.
Sure. Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Do we have further comment from the commission?
This is Commissioner Rasmussen here. I'd just like to make one comment, I guess, and that's regarding the southern access point where it meets 103rd. I heard staff and a few people mention there's going to be some studies there, but that is one concern of mine and something I think we saw in some emails earlier that with that steep hill and kind of a dangerous spot there, I just want to make sure we take a really good look at that. And then that's really what I've got.
Right. Thank you. Could staff comment? I believe I had heard somebody say that the realignment may include relocating that railroad bridge. Was I hearing that correct?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, so the bridge would actually stay. Part of what's driving the access point off of 103rd in the current location is the county does have a standard of quarter-mile spacing for access on county roads. And so as we're looking at that Hadley connection to the future alignment, looking at quarter-mile spacing, it does land approximately where it's shown on the concept level. I did get some information very late today from the county that their consultant has been looking into some of the site distances and is considering allowing us to shorten that quarter-mile spacing distance to allow for better sight lines for that access off of 103rd. Being that their consultant is still very early on in the sort of design and analysis of this 100th Street realignment, we are forcing the county to start making some decisions a little bit quicker, I think, than they anticipated. But they have been really great to work with for us to better understand their vision of this realignment and where access would be allowed in a safe way. So again, the initial driver was that quarter-mile spacing from the future Hadley connection to 100th. Between that and the access off of 103rd. But the county is considering allowing us to shorten that quarter-mile spacing to allow for better sightlines based on what they find with some of their analysis.
Okay, thank you. Further comment? Okay. Seeing none, we have a motion to approve and we have a second. I'll turn it over to roll call. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Frazier,
Aye.
Chair Kambata,
Aye.
Commissioner Bingham,
Aye.
Commissioner Britton,
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Knable,
Aye.
and Commissioner Rasmussen.
Aye.
All right. Motion carries. Moving on. Next on our agenda is item 6.3, Sunny Hill Park Addition, case PP 2021-003, with Ben Boyke presenting.
Yeah, if I can get my screen to share here. Hold on one second. Pull this down. Emma, go away. Hold on one second. Wow, struggling here. Let's go down here, try something different. There we go. I apologize. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Planning Commission. So before you tonight, we have a request for a preliminary plat to subdivide 1.16 acres of city-owned land, which is formerly right-of-way for Ideal Avenue, and create 7 new outlots. So the land in question tonight is, again, formerly Ideal Ave right-of-way, which is located between the Pine Cliff development and the Calarosa development. And this is located in the northern portion of the community, east of Hinton Avenue and north of 65th Avenue, or 65th Street. Okay. Sorry. In terms of background, so again, this land does consist of former right-of-way for Ideal Avenue. This land was purchased by the city from the Bolte family, again, at the time of the Pine Cliff development to the west. And essentially, the city currently maintains the strip of land, and really, that strip of land does not provide much value to the city. There is a CenturyLink line that goes through there. So as part of this development, or this plat, staff is recommending that there be a drainage and utility easement to provide access for that. But essentially what the city is proposing to do is to plat this northern strip, north being to the left in this image, and deed the 33 feet of former right-of-way to the new homes as part of the Lennar development to the east. So we have discussed this with Lennar, and they are in favor of doing that. Currently, there are 3 owners, I believe, lots 1, 2, and 6. And Lennar still owns lots 3, 4, and 5. So again, the plat will create 7 new outlots, the 6 as mentioned, that the plan would be to deed those to the property owners to the east. And the city would maintain the largest outlot, the southern outlot, as part of Sunny Hill Park. And finally, again, mentioning that there would be a drainage and utility easement covering the outlots. So with that, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission recommend to the City Council approval of this preliminary plat, subject to the conditions listed in the staff report. With that, I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Any follow-up questions from the commission for staff? All right, seeing none, we will go ahead, and this one does have public hearing. So real quick, instructions again. You have 2 options for engaging in the discussion. You may post a question using the Q&A option. If you post a question, I'll state the question to the Planning Commission and staff, and we will address the questions accordingly. You may also use the raise my hand option if you wish to verbally ask the question. Please test your device's microphone prior to selecting the option to assure that you'll be heard. I'll then call on you by name to ask you the question. Please understand that once the question is asked, you will be muted. If you have follow-up questions, please reselect the option to ask additional questions. With that, we will go ahead and open public hearing on this matter. So give us a minute or two here, see if anyone pops in. Director, just want to check with you that I'm not missing anyone. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and close public hearing.
Mr. Chair, I'm not seeing anything, no.
All right, thank you. With that, we'll close public hearing. Do we have additional comment from the commission?
I do have a question for staff. Ben, I'm assuming the city is basically just going to gift these outlets then to the landowners. They're not going to try to sell it to them or cover any costs. It's just essentially going to be deeded over to them, right?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Frazier, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and then I have a follow-up question for staff. The remainder of that easement is contained inside that park, so there's no reason to palm that off on anyone. That's my understanding. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, that is correct.
All right. All right. Well, with that, if we don't have any other follow-up questions from any other members of the commission, I would look for a motion.
Motion to approve, Commissioner Britton.
I have a motion to approve the. We have a motion to approve the preliminary plat subject to the conditions stipulated in the staff report. Do we have a second?
I second.
I have a second from Commissioner Knable. Further discussion? All right, I'll turn it over for roll call. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Commissioner Britton.
Aye.
Commissioner Knable.
Aye.
Commissioner Bigham.
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher.
Aye.
Commissioner Frazier.
Aye.
Commissioner Rasmussen.
Aye.
And Chair Kambata.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving on. Item number 7 is approval of Planning Commission minutes for November 23rd, 2020. It's hard to believe it's been 2 months since we met, but if there are no changes or amendments to those minutes, I will look for a motion to approve.
I'd like to approve the minutes, please.
We have a motion to approve the minutes for November 23rd from Commissioner Knable. Do we have a second?
A second, Commissioner Fisher.
I have a second from Commissioner Fisher. Before we go to vote, or any further comment? Seeing none, I'll turn it over for roll call. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Knable.
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher.
Aye.
Commissioner Bigham.
Aye.
Commissioner Britton.
Aye.
Commissioner Frazier.
Aye.
Commissioner Rasmussen.
Aye.
And Chair Kambata.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to item 8. 8.1, recap of December 2020 and January 21 City Council meetings.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. As Chair Kambata mentioned, it's been a while since we met, so we've actually had 4 council meetings since the previous Planning Commission meeting. First being on December 2nd, which included the application for renewal by Anderson, their sign variance. That was approved by council at that meeting. Moving to December 16th, we did not have any action items pertaining to anything with the Planning Commission, so nothing to note there. Same can be said for the meeting on January 6th, nothing pertaining to the Planning Commission. And on January 20th, this past week, the council did approve the 6th edition for Calarosa. So that is the 6th and final addition to the Calarosa project, located just in the area we were talking about previously with the previous application of 65th and Inwood Avenue. So that project, they've already done most of the grading there, is set up for 86 additional single-family homes as that project continues. So with that, I will turn it over to Councilmember Dennis for any updates he has.
All right, thank you, Ben, and good evening, everybody. Just want to give a quick notice that next Wednesday, which will be the 6th of February at 6:30 p.m., that Mayor Bailey will be giving our community what we call the State of the City, which will be an up-to-date forecast and kind of a review of different things we've accomplished over the past and some ideas of where we're at presently and even some things we're looking to do here this year. So it'll be exciting, and we invite anyone now who's interested to tune in for that. We are having council meetings now back at City Hall. So I know there's some limitations based on social distancing, but if anyone's interested in coming in, I'm sure we could find a way to accommodate them. So additionally, for our team here, there will be no changes in status for anyone this year, including Chair Kumbata, who continues to do a fantastic job along with all of the rest of you. We're very, very appreciative of the efforts and dedication that you put into this to helping serve our community. And then last but not least, I'm happy to open myself up for any questions that anyone might have relative to some of the things we might be doing at the City Council.
Thank you. It's good to know everyone's doing a great job. Obviously, this is volunteer effort, and it's great that everyone is working hard to stay engaged in our community. I don't have any questions. Any other questions from the commission? I think things are running well if we've got nothing to follow up on.
All right. Thank you. Everyone have a fantastic night.
Thank you, sir. You as well. Item 8.2, response to Planning Commission inquiries. There were no inquiries at our previous meeting in November, so there are no responses, which takes us on to item 8.3, which is Planning Commission requests. Are there any requests for staff or for the city from the commission? I think we're good on that one as well.
One note, sorry, this is Commissioner Britton.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ken.
I just recalled it. I sent a information request to staff a while back, and I got the email address where it didn't have the Cottage Grove dash, or it did. But anyway, the response that I got back from the city was hello without the EO at the end. So if they could just take a look at their automated responses to make sure that it's maybe a little bit more appropriate, that'd be nice.
Duly noted. That's not something we want to have happen. If we'll just have staff take note of that. Additional comment? Thanks for catching that, Ken. All right. Well, I guess on to item 9. I would look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn from Commissioner Fisher. Do we have a second?
Second from Rasmussen.
Tie. Rasmussen and Bigham. We have a second. I'll turn it over for roll call. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Fisher. Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
There you are. Commissioner Rasmussen.
Aye.
Commissioner Bigham.
Aye.
Commissioner Britton.
Aye.
Commissioner Frazier.
Aye.
Commissioner Knable.
Aye.
And Chair Kumbata.
Aye. All right, we are adjourned. I'd like to take a moment and just thank everyone who took the time to engage with the city tonight and make their concerns known and try and make our community better. And thanks again for everyone who volunteers. Have a good night.